What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel once again. So today we're going to be taking a look at the newest ComMarker Omni X laser engraver. Now in a previous video I tested out the ComMarker Omni 1, and this is basically an upgraded version which allows you to do even more. It does come with the same 5-watt laser, so there's not really an increase in power there, but honestly it's not really needed at all when it comes to engraving. If you saw my last video on the Omni 1, you'll know that a 5-watt UV laser is capable of engraving just about anything with extremely high accuracy. And if you missed that video, I'll put a link right up in the corner, along with in the description if you want to check that out. Now this machine that they sent me is actually a prototype, so it's not the final release. They are still working on some upgrades and features that will be available, but the model I have doesn't feature a few of those things. One of those features is actually a temperature control switch that automatically monitors the machine's temperature, which controls the fan up on top. With that being said though, let's jump right in and get started. So first, let's go over how this came packaged. It came in a very large box inside of another large box. It was way too big to fit on my table, so I actually had to unbox this on the floor and get it all set up on the table. It came well packaged and encased in foam to make sure that nothing got damaged along the way. They even threw in this cool little apron with my channel name on it, so thank you so much, ComMarker, for making that happen. Everything came included in the box, from the testing materials, all the necessary cords, the foot pedal, the user guide, the lifting platform, the ruler, and the safety goggles. Now one thing I like about this machine is you really don't need the safety goggles at all or the ruler, because the whole cover is basically one big safety goggle which will protect your eyes while it's running. And this machine features an autofocus, so you really shouldn't have to measure anything at all. Keep in mind though that there are certain instances where you'll still want to use the safety goggles, and that is if you disconnect the door and don't require it to engrave. I turned this feature off inside of the software, but that's mainly because I'm testing this out, and it's much easier to see on camera what's happening if the door is open. You'll also want to disconnect the door if you're using the slide extension, as you won't be able to fully close it. So once I got everything unboxed and laid out on the table, it was time to put this all together. Getting this set up didn't really take very long at all, and it was pretty much straightforward. The only real difficult part was getting the laser head screwed onto the base, as you have to screw it on from underneath, so aligning it was a little tricky. I just used a flashlight though to make it easier to see where the holes were. To get the cover on, there are 4 screws on the left, right, and back that holds the base cover on. Then the sliding cover attaches to that from the left and right side. I then just attached the handle to the door with 2 screws. Last was just a matter of plugging in all the cords, which are labeled for convenience. The whole process took me around 20 minutes or so to complete once I had all the parts laid out. So taking a look at this machine now that it is all put together, you can see that on the front is the power button, the emergency stop button, and the focus buttons to move the Z-axis up or down. On the bed, you can see all the little screw holes if you need to align your pieces in certain areas. This makes it especially easy if you need to engrave multiple pieces and need to align them in the same place every time. Taking a look at the back, you can see all the different ports for everything you'll need. There's a port for the lifting motor, slide extension, rotary attachment, safety door, the inside light, the cooling fan, exhaust fan, and foot pedal. It's also where the data cable goes, which attaches to your computer, and the power cord. Above all those ports, you can see where you can connect an exhaust fan too. On top of the machine, you can see 4 fans. 2 of them are exhaust fans, and the other 2 are for cooling the laser head. The door easily slides up and down, making it enclosed, so you can see what's happening without needing to use the safety goggles, which I mentioned earlier. On the side of the machine are the handles as well, in case you need to move it around. Keep in mind though that this machine is rather heavy when all put together, so you might still need help moving this. Once I had everything set up, I just needed to install the software so I can start engraving. The software comes on a USB drive, but ComMarker actually sent me their newer beta version to test out, so that's what I'll be using. To get the software working though, you just need to install 2 things. You'll need to install the Cypress driver installer along with the vc_redistributor.x64 file. Now it's possible you might not need to install the Visual C++ file, as you already might have that on your computer from some other program you installed, but your computer will tell you if you already have a newer version or one already installed. I didn't need to install it on my computer, so I skipped that part. As for the Cypress driver installer, in order to get that installed, I did have to copy the file to my desktop and install it from there, so if you do have issues getting it installed, try copying it to your desktop first instead of running it from the USB. it may need to be run with administrator privileges as well. Now, if you prefer to use Lightburn, you can certainly use that software instead. However, there are some features that Lightburn isn't capable of, like using the slide extension or 3D engraving inside of the crystals. So taking a look inside the software, it is fairly simple to use. All the tools you're going to need are right on the left-hand side. You can see that they have an option for text, drawing, images, vectors, QR codes, an image gallery, 3D relief, and 3D crystal engraving. You can easily add images and adjust the brightness or contrast to make it suitable for your needs. If you need to adjust the image in any way, you can simply click on Adjust Image, and inside there you can erase the background, crop images, or even add a filter if you want to use one. On the right-hand side, you have the laser settings, which allows you to change the frequency, Q pulse, number of passes, speed, and things like that, and more, depending on which mode you're in. Now, there are a few things inside the software which can be a little confusing, but I'll get to that a little bit later. One of those things, though, is that when you're in image mode, where it says original, it doesn't engrave the original. That's only for viewing purposes. It will default to halftone after you preview it. Now, that can be confusing if you process an image outside of the software with like Photoshop or something like that. You don't want to add a halftone again if you've already added one first. Now, I've contacted ComMarker though and told them about these things, so they are aware of them and hopefully making it easier to understand down the road. Overall though, the software is pretty simple to use, and while I do prefer Lightburn normally, I'm actually using this software the entire time. So now it's time to actually try out this machine and see how well it works. The first test I wanted to try was just on some aluminum business cards that were provided in the material pack. I grabbed an image of a Mickey Mantle baseball card that I pulled off of Google and placed it on the lifting platform. All I had to do was make sure that the aluminum card was initially under the red dot and hit focus and then frame it inside of the card. I set the image to negative and halftone and then hit start to engrave. As you can see, I think this came out amazing. You can see every little detail and it looks exactly like the original image. After that, I tried doing another image onto a black stainless steel dog tag. This time I grabbed an image of Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th and using the same settings, hit focus and then start. While this image was much smaller, it still engraved it perfectly and with awesome detail. So I couldn't have Jason without Freddy, so I flipped the dog tag over and engraved an image of Freddy on the other side. And just like the image with Jason, I think this came out awesome. Keep in mind, I didn't do any pre-processing for these images or adjust the contrast or brightness at all. I engraved them just as they were. All I did was adjust them to fit the area inside the dog tag. I then wanted to try engraving an image onto a piece of wood. For this one, I just chose an image off my phone of a moose I took while I was in Colorado. Again, I didn't pre-process it or make any adjustments. I just cropped it into a square, hit focus, and then start. As you can see, I think this came out really good. So next up was to try cutting out some felt that was included in the material pack as well. Since Halloween is right around the corner, I grabbed a few vector images of a ghost and a pumpkin to cut out. I filmed this in real time so you can see how fast this actually goes. To cut both of these out only took about 10 seconds, and that was with 3 passes. As you can see, I think these came out perfect, and there isn't any burning or charring around the edges. Even the small pieces like the nose and eyes came out perfect. I then tried engraving a witch onto just a piece of paper, and while it is a little hard to see because of the color, it still came out really good and didn't even burn through the paper the entire way. After that, I wanted to try it out on some rubber to see if I could make a stamp. I used the 3D relief feature and engraved the Seinfeld logo onto the rubber that I created. I haven't tried it out yet as an actual stamp, but just by looking at it, I can tell that it'll work perfectly. Now, since I did the Seinfeld logo, I figure I might as well engrave the entire cast onto a piece of black glass I had laying around. Now, this piece of glass is much bigger, so I just framed the image in the upper left-hand corner and auto-focused it once again. And just like on the metal business cards, I think the detail came out amazing and it worked perfectly. Now, inside of the material pack was also some leaves to try out, so I figured I might as well try that out as well. I grabbed an image of the Hulk and framed that onto the leaf. I was really amazed at how well this worked. It's a little hard to see in some angles, but when you hold it up to the light or with a darker background, I think it looks awesome. So the last thing I wanted to try out, which has to be my favorite, is the ability to engrave inside of glass crystals. I chose to use this 3D model of a skeleton hand holding a rose that ComMarker supplied, and I positioned the crystal onto the platform. I then focused the lens to the platform first, and then framed the model to the crystal. I then just hit start and let the software handle the rest. You can see that the laser starts at the bottom and works its way up, creating microfractures within the glass to create the image. I think this came out absolutely awesome. I even went a step farther and created a 3D printed platform for the crystal to sit on with a light that shines from underneath. This allows it to look even better and especially cool in the dark. So after testing this machine out for a few weeks, I'll go over my thoughts and what I think about this. So overall, I think this is just an awesome machine and the capabilities are amazing. That doesn't mean though that this machine is perfect. I think there's still some things that need some work, but I'll talk about those in a minute. Let's first go over all the good stuff. So first, as you saw this engrave on a bunch of different materials, I think the results were fantastic on everything I tried. Being able to engrave on just about any material out there is awesome. I love that they included the ability to engrave inside of crystals with this machine, which I think is super cool. This ability will definitely be a game changer for those looking to start or expand their business. I engraved a few other things off camera as well, experimenting with some different settings, and the results were still really good. Here you can see a few images of Hulk Hogan that I tried out on metal, an image of a robot on another business card, and this 3D model of Albert Einstein that I engraved inside of this crystal cube. I do like the emergency stop and safety cover to allow everything to be contained inside of the engraving area. You'll definitely want an exhaust fan though if you are engraving anything that produces lots of smoke or dust. I do like the software and how easy it is to use. When engraving the crystals, I just needed to scale the model to fit it inside the frame, and that was basically it. I like how it has the ability to add the slide extension or even the rotary. If you're needing to engrave something that's much longer than the normal 150mm working area, simply attach the slide extension, which gives you up to 400mm of engraving space. And if you're engraving round objects, simply attach the rotary to go with it as well. Now, I tested the rotary in my last video on the Omni 1, so I didn't do that again, but if you need to see how that works, go check out that video and I'll have a link down in the description. So now I'll go over some things that I think could be a little bit better. First, I'll start with the machine design. While I do like it and I like that it's enclosed, I wish it was fully enclosed and not have the small gap around the edges. Because of this, even while I had the exhaust fan hooked up, smoke was still able to seep out the cracks. And that leads into the next issue. The exhaust fan is all the way in the back, so unless it's extremely powerful, it's not close enough to where it's engraving to be fully functional. Now, they did send me a prototype of an extension that reaches much closer, so they are actively working on a fix, so that's a plus. One more thing about the smoke issue I'd like to point out is the fans on top. While 2 of them are meant to cool the laser head, the other 2 are venting the smoke as well. So basically you have your exhaust system hooked up to the back, but if there's a lot of smoke, some is getting sucked out the back, some is being sucked out of the top, and some is being seeped out from the cracks along the door and through the vent in the rear. I think if it was fully enclosed, it would just be that much better. The second thing I'll talk about is the door itself. I don't really like the springs that make it go up and down. It's a little noisy and just seems strange, like it's not supposed to be there. I also wish the door went up higher or could easily be removed. If you're engraving something that produces a lot of smoke, the inside will get dirty real fast and you can't really wipe it down easily or clean it without fully unscrewing it from the base first. Now, this isn't really that big of a deal, just something I thought I'd point out. The last thing about this machine that I'm not a big fan of is the handles that carry it. While it's nice that they included them, you really can't pick up the machine with them. You have to sort of get it to the edge of the table and lift at an angle with your back arched in order to pick it up. Like I said earlier, this machine, when put together, is rather heavy, so it's definitely not going to be easy to move around. If you remove the whole cover though, it's much easier to pick up and move around. So let's talk about the software for a minute now. While I do like it and it's pretty easy to use, there are some things that can be a little confusing. Like I mentioned earlier, when it comes to image engraving, when you click on Mode, there's Original, Grayscale, and Halftone options. Now if you import an image and then click on Preview, the mode will change from Original to Halftone when you stop the preview. This can be rather confusing because you technically can't engrave the original image. For instance, if I processed an image using Imager or Photoshop with my own filters and then try and import that into the software, it's going to add a halftone to the image again. There's no pass-through option like there is in Lightburn. The original mode is only there to preview the image on the screen, nothing else. The second thing about this software that I think could use some work is the 3D relief section. When you import a model, you don't really know how big it is. You can adjust the marking model size, but you have no idea what that actual size is. So if I want it to be 50 millimeters tall, I have to keep clicking preview to see the bounding box and how big it actually is. I'm also hoping that they put some clear instructions together on how to use the advanced features like the Z-axis descending and the cleaning checkbox. On the plus side though, if you are confused with the software, just remember you can always use Lightburn instead if you are more familiar with that. You will, however, need to run a calibration on the lens inside of Lightburn first, but that's pretty simple and there's plenty of videos out there already that show you how to do that. So that pretty much sums it all up in my initial thoughts on this machine. I think it works really well, and being able to engrave inside of the crystals is just freaking awesome. I still think it needs a few improvements, but most are very minor, and once there's some software updates, I think it'll be even better. If you haven't used a UV laser in the past or are new to laser engraving, I highly recommend checking this one out. It will do just about everything that other lasers can and probably more. However, if you are looking to do some deep engravings on metal, I'd recommend checking out ComMarker's fiber lasers as there's plenty of choices for that. For high precision though, and the capabilities to engrave on just about anything, then this would definitely be the way to go. I will put links though down in the description on where you can pick up this machine, along with a discount code to save you a little bit of money as well. Well, that's going to be it for this video, everyone, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And if you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, ring the bell to get notified of all the new videos that come out. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.